Okay, so good evening, everyone. This is the third session for TDS session, and today we'll be going through GA1, most of week 2, and we'll cover GA2 as well. And in the course of covering the GAs, I think most of your questions will be answered in regards to how to use some of the tools and things of that nature. One thing we might not be able to do is an extensive scraping, but that's okay because there are some videos that cover that very extensively, particularly Amit's videos. And then as we get closer to ROE, we'll do some extra sessions to cover those sort of topics. Typically, instructors will do some sessions with that, as well as I'll be taking some sessions preparing you for ROE. Okay, so let me share the screen. Okay, so just in case some of you are unaware, and there may be some who might watch this video later. So typically, bonus questions are put on discourse. That's the only place where it is normally released. And so if you want to get them as soon as they come, so you notice this was released 3 days ago. So if you want to get them as soon as they come, just subscribe to the Tools for Data Science discourse posts, okay? And then it will come straight to your inbox. There were some previous ones there was a previous one as well, which many have done. Approximately, I think 5% of all students that are registered on TDS did the previous one. And Anand is happy enough for that to be the case. So as you can see, it's over here. It's pinned, and it'll be here for a couple of weeks, I think, up here. There is a deadline for these bonus questions, and it's given over here, Thursday 17th. AOE means any time on Earth. Okay, so even if it is California time, Wednesday 16th, 23:59, then you're still able to submit it. Okay, so that's what the AOE means. It's not IST, it's not Indian Standard Time. Okay, so he's giving you the whole length of whatever 16th of October is. So remember, it's before 17th. Okay, so 16, 23, 59, 59 seconds. Okay, so that's out of the way. Right. First, have a look at GA1. So there were some. There were not. There, hopefully, this was not very challenging. Okay. Did any of y'all have any issues with like the first question, replacing IITM in all files? Of course, you could do it manually.
No.
Okay. And the flip side of it is you can just use GPT to create you a small little script to change all the the contents of those files. Okay. So that's, and you would typically use an application called SED in your bash to do that. So if I let's see. Sorry, I should have had this open already. There it is. Okay. Got the wrong one. Right. So thought I had an environment. Sorry. Sorry, just give me a second here.
The first data point,
that is your
X. Okay.
Actually, it might be a better idea if I used that. Okay. So if we looked at the file with the zip, copy it, and then okay, so the file is in there. Actually, I could have just opened it from here. Sorry. That's better. Right. So if we look at this, there are 9 files, no, 10 files in here. Is it 10? Yeah, 10 files in here. And one way, of course, is you open the file and you can change it in there. But we'd want a fairly quick way of doing it. So typically for things like this, a small, simple bash script might work. And so here in this case, we're using this function called, or command called find. And we are finding files, and dot indicates, so in bash, of course this is not bash, this is ZSH, it's a similar sort of shell. So in ZSH or bash, dot usually means the current directory. Okay, so I'm saying find in the current directory, which is this folder here. And what are we looking for? We're looking for file. That's what this dash type, it's an option we're saying, look for in this directory. F gives you the option, which is look for files. And then I want to execute a command for all the files it finds. So dash exec. And then sed is for replacing text within the, it's another command, just like find. And it's a command to replace text within a file. So this dash I option means case insensitive. In other words, I'm not concerned about the case of IITM. It can be small or big or whatever it is. And then I can replace it with whatever I expect it to be, right? So I think the question said, so we want IIT Madras, right? Oops. I go here. Madras, I think. Yes. And then, so the letter I over there is what do you call for it? Case insensitive, and the G is for a global replacement, as in everywhere. Because if you don't put the G, then what happens is it will only replace the first occurrence of it in the line. So say, for example, if the line had 2 IITMs, it will only replace the first one. It won't replace the second occurrence of IITM in that same line. So that's why you need the G. And that means global replacement. And then this 2 brackets like this is just, it means that for every file that this command finds, okay. So when this command runs, it will find that file, right? So for each file that it finds, execute that particular command. That is what those 2 brackets tell us, okay. And then the plus is basically, you can do it without the plus. It just optimizes passing multiple files to the single command. So it doesn't matter if the plus is there or not. So when we run that, it makes all the changes. And then, of course, to see if those changes have taken effect, we run this command, cat star and the SHA. or SHA-256. So I go here. Let's see. So you get this what you would call it, this I'm forgetting the word for it. It'll come to me. But you get this string, okay? This string is the value of all those files computed. And that's what that gives you, okay? And then we put that here. There's a technical term for it, but it doesn't come to me at the moment. So that worked, right? So that's fine. So pretty straightforward, not a very difficult question. Of course, the only difficulty would have been this command. If you don't know system commands, then this might not make much sense to you. But having said that, you could use GPT and it would give you something similar, where you can run this command either individually. So another option was, of course, you don't have to do it um, for all files in one go. You could have just run this part of the command, right? So this is a very straightforward. In that file, what you want to do is replace IITM with that case insensitive and a global change. Most students made this mistake where they don't have the G in there, right? If you don't have the G option, then you will not get the correct answer. Yeah, so that's what that was. Any questions about that?
Pardon me, what is the functionality of that exec command in the back?
So yes, yeah. So this exec. So what happens is this part of the command, okay, produces some output, right? In other words, it finds a list of files, right? But what do you want to do with them? You want to run this on the files that it found, and these double braces indicates for each one of those things that it found. Run this command. So that dash exec just means execute this on whatever it finds from this. That's what it means.
Okay, okay. Thank you.
Okay, it's kind of similar to a pipe, but in ZSH, I mean, you could use a pipe, I suppose. I didn't try it with a pipe, but that's what it means, though. This execute this command on whatever the output of this is. Okay, and this by the way, I know this looks strange, and but this is what's called a regular expression. Okay, it's something if you don't know about regular expressions, I would suggest at least looking up some basic resources on it. In system commands, which is in the BS program, in the diploma level, there is week 4 content, okay? And there are 2 lectures on regular expressions. I would at least suggest you watch those if you don't know about regular expressions, because if you get ChatGPT to spit out regex, which it often does, you will not understand what's happening, right? So if you don't understand what's happening, you will not be able to debug it. So you'll see many posts on Discourse, for example, they will tell what's wrong with my code, I don't know what's happening. And typically it's because regex is hard to debug. Okay, so that's the reason. If you don't have a basic understanding of it, you yourself will not know what's wrong either, and you won't know how to correct it. So that's why what I would recommend is at least getting some basic knowledge on regex. Okay, uh, and then that will help you in some certain scenarios, like for example in ROE and all. Okay. But we don't expect you to become experts at regex. Just basic knowledge. Okay, that's all is required. And what I'll do is maybe I'll take one course one session where I won't talk about it today, but it'll be somewhere a little bit down the line. I'll make a note of it today. In fact, I'll walk you through some basic, simple regex, so you understand how it's constructed and what are some basic operations you can do with it. Okay, but I will not cover it today specifically. One of the reasons for this question was just to get you familiar with the fact that you can use the terminal to do some operations. And in fact, this is kind of a fairly complex operation if you think about it. You're getting a list of files, you're executing some commands on those files, and then you're finding and I wish I could remember what this was called. So you're finding um, what would you say, some sort of string, a unique string that represents all this content. That's what this is. Okay, it's some sort of encoding is a good way to think about it. So the what's the benefit of encoding it like this? So this is called a SHA-256 encoding. Okay, the benefit of encoding something like this is if there is even one little character change in any of these 10 files, one character, like imagine if inside there was ITM and there was just a space added somewhere, it will completely change this entire encoding that you get. So in other words, this is a way to check if you've got the right answer, because this will be unique for whatever content is in it. So I wish I could remember the technical term for it, but I will get back to you on that in the next session. But that's what this SHA-256 does. Okay? It encodes whatever is in here and gives it a unique representation. That's what it does. If any of you
That
remember,
is a hash code.
sorry, go ahead.
That is a hash code.
Hash
Technical
code.
term.
Yes, yes, that's right. That's right. Thanks, Vishnu. I don't know why it didn't come to my mind. It was, I mean, we deal with this all the time, and suddenly I couldn't remember what it was. But yeah, it's a hash code, and it's something you will learn in MAD one as well. But that's what it is. It's a unique representation of whatever is in here. Okay, so that's what that was. Okay, the next one, multi-cursor edits for this particular file. Um, were you all able to solve this? This is also very easy, very straightforward. Um, did any of you all have any issue with this particular question? No? Okay. Then I'll not go over that one. But if you still want to know about it, so there are two ways to do it, right? One is you could manually go through it. Highly do not recommend doing that, because in this particular situation, it was a very small file, right? I think 100 lines or something like that. Definitely, if you not learnt it and you still solved it, I would still urge you to try and solve it using multi-cursors. Because say, for example, it's ROE situation. You have no time. You can't manually fix things. You want to fix all of them very rapidly, right? In one shot, basically. Then learning how to do it uh, this way, using the multi-cursor method, would be very, very super helpful to you. Okay. Right.
So it was supposed to be done using Visual Studio, right? The
Yes, correct.
multi-cursor function of
Yeah.
Visual Studio.
Yes, yes, definitely. And it was very easy to do in Visual Studio.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah. So the whole purpose of this was just to get you familiar with that concept. And I hope you realized how super useful that was, right?
Yes, it was indeed.
And I
Artan,
think you
can
had,
you show us quickly this one?
yeah, I could do, yeah, yeah. Right. So I need the file. I do apologize. I don't have the files set up already. It's partly because I was actually, um, I was away today. So I just came in literally 20 minutes before the session. So I don't have the everything set up. So just bear with me while I get it done. Hmm, thought I had it here somewhere. Okay. Right. So so I think it was this file, wasn't it? Yeah. So I might get it wrong in the first try, but it's a learning experience. We've got want to make key value. Yeah. Okay. And we want space. Yeah, we want a space as well. Right. So the way I would first start is probably, oops, sorry, got my keys all muddled up here. Oops, command. Sorry, I think I'll have to look up. There it is. Yeah. So what I'm doing is I'm using command option, the down arrow key, and I think in Windows it'll be command alt, sorry, control alt and the down arrow key, and you get this sort of multi-cursor situation, right? So all these lines are selected at the same time. We want a key value pair, so we just do that, and notice it's done it everywhere. That's great. Next thing is we want it also for the other side of this, right? So if I just go right arrow key, that's not going to help, because as you can see, it's moving all of them at the same time, right? So you have to use a little bit of thought here. So instead, what I'll do is I'll go to the equal to sign here, okay? And then I think it's Command Shift L, I think it was, yeah. So Command Shift L or Control Shift L now selects the equal to sign, right? So now you can see all the equal to sign is selected. So now I can go one to the left, and notice all of them are correctly gone to the left. I hit the double quote sign because that's what we wanted. And then the next thing we wanted, I think, was a colon, right, instead of the equal to. So again, I'll go to the right, shift right, change it to a colon. Then I give a space. Then I give a double quotes. Now the last bit is getting the end, right? Now notice I went to the end, but all the cursors are all in the wrong place. So again, this requires a little bit of thought. What I will do is I will do what I did before, which was go to the beginning. On one line, which is what we wanted, right? But we also want a double quote and a comma. Yeah. And then let's see, what else did it want? Did it want a space between? Yes, it wanted a space between there as well. So there's a space there. So now if I'll just check, make sure that that's, yeah, 6 was the first one there. So yeah, so we've got it in the exactly the form we wanted, right? And then I put a brace, okay, brace there, and then the brace at the end as well. And there's a missing quote on this one, so I put the quote there as well. And I think that's exactly what we wanted. Yes, so there's no space at the end of that. So if we look here, yeah. So I think that's our JSON done, right? So let's verify. Copy, and then we want to hash it, right? So got to put it in here. Hash. So again, this does the same thing. Hash code. It gives you a hash code, and then we'll stick it in here. And fingers crossed, this works. Yes, it worked. Hooray! You see how easy that was? It barely took hardly a minute or so, right? So I hope you guys learned how valuable multi-cursor edits are. Was that helpful? Yeah. Okay, great. So remember, okay, sometimes you need to just use a little bit of thought. Like when I was putting the quotes in the beginning, how to bring it up to one line, just a little bit of thought is required. I mean, answer is quite clever that way. He doesn't give you questions which you can just blindly answer. So I quite enjoyed working that out. Right. Okay, so the next thing is this one was pretty straightforward, I hope. Did anyone want me to just quickly go over this one? Did you all have any issues with this? Essentially, what you have to do is the error is this is the error. Okay, you have to just if you're in Google Colab, so maybe actually I'll demonstrate this because some of you might not be familiar with Google Colab. So let's get all this in there. Yeah, new notebook. Okay, and then paste all that code in here. Now, uh, essentially what happened, don't worry about all this stuff, right? We're not expecting you to understand all this. The mistake is here, right? So um, I think if you have done MLP or maybe MLT, MLT, I think you will understand what's kind of happening here. But basically what's happening is you're opening an image, right? So when you're opening an image, it has to go into some variable, and that's all you have to fix. Here it's looking for a list, but actually that's not what's needed, right? You just want this image over here. So copy this in. So we need to upload this image into here. So the way I do it is I click on this little folder button, and before you can upload anything, you have to start a runtime. So I think it's connecting at the moment. We'll just wait for that to connect. And then once it's done, you'll get this tick mark. And now you're ready to upload data into here. So say upload, and then select the image, say open, say okay. So then the image is over here. And then what we do is we just replace this, because it's not a list, we are opening a single image, and just put the name of the image. And then just hit play and it should work. Right. So it gives you, so let's have a look here. Yeah. So it gives you some number, right? So we just take that number. That's the result. Yeah. So that's the result. Let's hope, fingers crossed. Hey, 3. Right. So that was it. Very straightforward. Okay. Right. Moving on. Right. I think a lot of people had issues with this one probably. Okay. So I'll download this file. Copy. Put it in here. Yeah. And now, let's, in fact, let's go here. And which file was it? G1, Q4. So it was, I think it was this zipped file, isn't it? Let's see. Yeah. So this is the first cluster assignment that will happen. Now, of course, it's not looking good. Okay. So let's have a look now. Right. So you got all these files, right? And this is one place where lots of students had issues, and they used GPT, and they still had issues. So I'll show you a simple way to deal with this, right? I mean, the first clue should be here. He's just expecting to use a simple ls command, right? So if you do ls dash l, it will give you this output, and this is exactly what you're looking for. Okay, you've got the date, the size, and you don't need the file name, but it's here anyway. So all these things are there, and the question that's being asked is what's the total size of files that are at least 1154 bytes large, or on or after this date. So now that we got this output, here's a simple thing you can do. Just copy paste this. Okay. You can use some fancy command if you like, but this is a simple way to deal with it. So I copied it. Now what do I do with it next? I can just open a Google Sheet or something. File new. Okay, and I'll just paste it here. Values only. Okay, so it's all in here. The whole list is here. Okay. Anyone want to suggest now what I do next? Should be pretty obvious now.
Text to columns.
Yep, that's it. So just do text to columns. Oops. So go data, split text to columns. Oh, hey, it's already most of the battle is done, right? And then we don't need all these columns. These are all not needed. What we need is the size. What I'll do is I'll put one row on top here. Say size, date, month, year, and we don't need this also. Okay, and then we can do we can do the straightforward filtering. What was the filter asking for? Filter was at least 1154 bytes, right? So let's start off with that anyway. If I hit this little funnel type icon, it will create a filter, and then we'll say filter by condition. We'll clear all this and say greater than at least 1154. So greater than or equal to 1154. Say okay. Ooh, what happened here? What's happened? Sorry. Yeah. So let's see. Is everything greater than 1154? It is. And just to show you that that it does work, I'll say none. So if you look here, there's 100 files, and you can see there are some that are smaller than 1154. And then as soon as I apply the condition, greater than or equal to 1154, say okay. Oh. So there's no files that are smaller than that, right? Okay. So next thing is we wanted to modify it on or after Wednesday 25th, 2002. Right. So one sort of there's something wrong here. Right. So note. So this is another thing that most students miss out on. Okay. Whenever you see this time here instead of a year, that's because that is the current year. That's typically what happens when you produce this information out of here. So if I look on here carefully, you see over here, this is an example here. So this means May 2024 this is. So that's why it's coming out as a time. So sometimes when you're doing, when you do your fancy regex and all, you will miss all this. You will not realize that that's what's happened. So that's why sometimes just doing something the simple way is better. And it doesn't take that much longer. It's only taking a bit longer because I'm explaining it to you, right? But you can see there are two entries that are actually this year, but it's got a time in there, right? So, so that's what we got to take care of. So what I'll do is, I'll just simply, I know this is 2024, so I'll just make it 2024. Where is the other one? The other one is not even of the right size. So if I just quickly verify here, no, that's not it. Did I just close it? So that one was, that one is the right size. 8, 6. Did I miss it somewhere? There it is. 2024. Okay. So we got both of them. So how did I know? Because when I hit this filter over here, see, these are all years. These are all unique values. So that's how I realized that there were two that were not correct. Okay, so now that we dealt with that, we want years that are greater than 2002. So filter by condition, greater than or equal to 2002. Say okay. So now everything is greater than 2002. Then September 25th. So another thing I'm going to do is I will also sort this by A to Z. So this September 25th onwards. So if you'll notice here, so I filtered by 2002, but then the next thing is 25th September, right? So this is starting at 2002, 25th September, but this entry is not to be included in there. So this is another common mistake which I found students doing in the discourse post. They will filter, but they will forget the fact that when you're filtering, they will miss out this. So that's just something to be aware of. And what we want only the size, right? So I'll just copy, just paste it here on the side, values only, and then just do a sum of this, which is on the column F. So sum, oops, sorry, equal to sum, then okay, so we got some number. Hopefully this is all correct. Fingers crossed, fingers crossed. This is always very exciting. Yes. Because until I actually hit, see, the thing is, I don't know if it's correct or not until I actually do it. So that's why it's kind of fun. Okay, that was pretty straightforward, right? I mean, it wasn't difficult, yeah. Of course, again, you could use GPT, run some command, but many times what has happened is I've looked at what they have produced, and there is some edge cases which are not getting caught by the GPT, and GPT doesn't know what the issue is, and so then students are also not able to figure out because again they don't have skill in regex. So that's why they're not able to figure out what the bug is, and therefore they're not able to explain it to GPT that, hey, this is an issue here. Right? But notice how easily we were able to just look at it in the G sheet, do some simple filtering, and that's it, right? It was very easy to catch the errors also. So hope that was useful. Okay. Next is, and remember, this is just week one, right? So we are not trying to like do difficult things. We just want you to do simple things, simple manipulations, and get familiar with how to use the tools effectively. Move and rename files. So, right, use move to move all files, rename all files, replacing numbers. Again, this is a simple process using GPT. It's similar to this first one over here on the top where we ran a command to replace IIT Madras. The same thing can be done with this. You just use the move command, and when you're renaming the files, you can replace numbers with zeros. So it's given an example here, right? And then once you do that, you just run this command to get your hash encoding. So I'll not demonstrate this because it's quite similar to the first one. Okay, just that you will have to use a little bit of GPT for getting some simple regex that will replace the file names. Okay. Then compare files. Okay, I think this one. I'm trying to remember. Yes, yeah. So I'll demonstrate this one because a lot of people had issues with this particular one as well. So by the way, I hope you guys are okay, right, so far? Because I'm not hearing anything from you guys, so it's very strange talking to a wall of silence, right?
Yes, very good.
Okay. Right. So we've got the file, and that's this one here, is it? Yes, it is. Okay. And then we want to find the difference. So, Okay, so two identical files, a.text, b.text. So the simple way to deal with this is there are two commands you could use. You could use either, I think, diff or com is the other one. So here's something else you could do. If you don't know what a command does, you can always use, so this from system commands, you say man and then you say com, for example. So that gives you the manual about uh, this particular command called com. So it's compare, and it tells you exactly what the options are and what to do about it. So I like to use com because it's quite straightforward. And to exit from here, you just press Q, and then it comes back to the terminal. So if you look here, there are two files, a.txt and b.txt. So if I do compare, and I say, so there are three options for com. So if I first, let me do without the options, okay, so that you see what happens. Oops, sorry. Let me, oops, I did a mistake here. Let me check the. Typically, I don't want the output. I just want the. Yeah, sorry. I have to. Right. Okay. So there are two parts to this command actually. So first is if I do a.txt, b.txt. So what you've seen out here is it telling you, so it produces actually three columns, okay? I know you can't see it here. And those three columns, the first column will say whatever is unique in that file. Second column will be whatever is unique in the second file. And third column is whatever is unique in both. So what I'll do is I'll use this pipe command here now, okay? Com a b text and then do a word count and say lines. Okay, so what this will do then is it will tell us how many unique lines are there, because that's what the dash shell does. It will tell us how many unique lines are there between the output of this com. So now if I do dash 3, sorry, dash 2 and dash 3, sorry, dash 3, yeah, and give the same files, and I'll explain this in just a second. Okay, you see 36. So what this means is, if I go to the man com, you'll see it clearly. So the first column, okay, forget about this dash one. So remember, com produces three columns, okay. The first column has lines that are only in file one. So that means it'll be, if there are any lines in file one that are also in line two, it will not show up in this one, okay. Same way, this second column will show lines that are only in file two and not in file one. And then then if the third column shows lines that are common to both files, okay. So that's what's the output that's coming. So a good way to think about it is if I just do a small demonstration here. So this is the easiest way to understand it. So if I do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, okay, and then I do 1, 2, 3, 6, 7, okay. So now if I ask you the question, what are the lines only in the first file? The answer would be what?
4 and 5,
4 and 5. What are the lines only in the second file?
6 and 7.
Yeah, 6 and 7. Oops, sorry, 6 and 7. Okay. What are the lines in both files?
1, 2, 3.
1, 2, 3. Okay. So now if you look at the question, where's the question? How many lines are different between A and B? So the question is, how many lines are different between A and B? What would your answer be?
2 of them.
Two lines, right?
Right.
You agree? Only two lines are different, correct? Between A and B, only two lines are different.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the way I understand it. So that's the easiest way to understand what what this output is doing. So if I quit from here, and so if I do So if I suppress, um, so if I suppress the output of lines that are common in 3 and only in 2, sorry, common in both and only from file 2, I'll get that number 36. If I do the opposite also, 1 and 3, I should get the same answer. Do you see why that is? Because it's exactly what we talked about. What are the number of lines that are different between the two? Only 2, right? In that example I showed you. So the answer is 36. 36 lines are different between the two. So if I go here, we try it. Let's hope I'm right. Oh wait, before I do that, no, that's the wrong thing I'm looking for. Yeah. So let's hope this works. Ooh, I'm so excited. Is it working? Oh no, it's not right. What happened? Something went wrong. What did I do wrong? 36. That should have worked. I'm not sure why that didn't work. Did I get the right ones? Yeah. Is it twice of that? 36, 72, maybe. Let's see. 72. Let's try 72 and see if that's the one. No. Okay. Something is not gone quite right here. Can
Yeah,
anyone spot the error?
I didn't get that -2 tweaked.
Yeah. So what it should do, there's some mistake I'm doing, but I'm not able to catch it at the moment. So okay, this worked before, so I'm not sure why it's not working now. We'll come back to it anyway. So if I suppress column 2, which is only the files in 2, which is if we look at our silly example here. So if I suppress this output and I suppress this output, we should only get these two as the answer, right? Okay. Let's try this. Let's try. Let's try -1, 2. But I think the answer for this will come 3 then, won't it? Or no, 553 probably. Let's see. No, 481. Okay. So those are the lines that are not in 1, not in 2, and in 3. 481. Let me check. 481. I don't think so. Could be wrong. Yeah, I don't think that was the right answer. Okay, I'm not sure why this didn't work correctly. According to me, it should be this, okay? 36 should be the answer. But I think I'm making a mistake somewhere. Let's try diff. So diff reduces the number of lines of text. Okay, we'll come back to this later because I don't want to waste time. It's 9 o'clock and we still got week 2 to go through. I'll come back to this, okay? I know it works. I've done it before because I had to solve this before the GA was released. So I'll come back to this a bit later, okay? Not sure why that didn't work. I'm probably making a mistake somewhere that I have not spotted. Okay, right. So that didn't work. Okay. Spreadsheets. Okay, okay. So you guys know how to do filtering, right? So I won't go through that. Is that okay? Yeah, okay. Basically, you just get the filter by goal type ticket and then arrange top 100 and you will get what's required. The one command over here that you should keep in mind is when you're doing that rows, right? This command will help you. So if I just do an insert here, so instead of doing total, right, do subtotal. So what that will do is, if you have filtered something, it won't count anything in between. See, if I just, so I'll just quickly demonstrate on this so that you understand. So if I remove the filters, remove Actually go here and remove the filters here. So if you look at this, right? So if I say sum equal to sum, and I just do this column A3 A102. Okay, so it gives you some number, right? But oops. But if I put the filter, and if I put some, if I remove some values from here, okay, and say okay. Now this number should become smaller, but notice it didn't become smaller. It still remained the same. That's because it's still counting everything that's even the ones that are missing from the filter. It still counts it. But instead of sum, if I do subtotal, now what it will do is, so it was A102 and the other one, sorry, A103, I think it was, what's that? 102, okay. So if I do subtotal, do A3 to A102, oops. You have to also give it a function. So summing, we want to do summing. Notice there's a difference now. So this is still sum, but it's counting all the missing rows also. So between 97 and 98, there's a missing row over here, but it's counting the value in there. That's what sum does. But subtotal, so this number 9 indicates the type of function. Okay, if you want to know what the functions are, you just go to learn more, I think, and then it will tell you what the different function codes. So if you say 1, it's average, 2, it's count. So I wanted sum, right? So 9, number 9 is what I used. So I put the function code number 9. This is the range, but now subtotal only count the visible rows in this filter. Okay, so that's what one common mistake that can happen when you're doing this filtering on here. The other way, okay, is so this is from an SQLite database, right? So you can open it in pandas, and I won't show it right now. What I'll do is, because we'll be doing GA2, I'll show you pandas at that time, so then you will understand. Okay? So you can also open it in pandas and do something similar, but since I'll be going over GA2, I'll skim over this for now. But that's one way to do it. You can remove it from the database, put it into a Google Sheet, and just do a plain filtering, and you will get the answer. GitHub, you guys should already know how to open up a GitHub repo and do these. So these I will skip over. Okay. One problem that some students had was there, for some reason, the encoding was in UTF-16. Just make sure that if you look at the discourse post that deals with that issue specifically, there's a nice video that Anand sir has provided to explain what UTF-16 issue is and what UTF-8 is. Everything should be in UTF-8, which is a type of text encoding. And if you do that, then you won't encounter any errors with these two. So that is GA1 covered. Okay. Hopefully that was instructive. I'll get back to you about the COM difference between the files. It has worked before, but I think there is some mistake I'm making at the moment, which is why it wasn't coming out right. But I have tried it in the past and it has worked. So, right. So next is week 2. In week 2, I hope you've all gone through the videos by now. And most of it is pretty straightforward. The Excel scraping, if you've got Excel, that's great. But if you don't, you can always scrape with Google Sheets. The useful things to know there is commands like import XML and import HTML. So say, for example, if you go here, it will list them. So it will explain about them. So just know what these functions do and how to use them. Feed and data are not that important because you can do sort of the same sort of things with XML, import HTML, and data is for CSVs. But anyway, it's not difficult to put a CSV in a spreadsheet, so I wouldn't worry too much about that. But at least know how this command works and how HTML command works. Okay, import HTML. Then weather ID. Okay, so this was pretty straightforward as well. This was just using the, have a quick look here. Yeah, so basically there are two libraries. These libraries are important to learn, okay? When I say important to learn, I'm saying go to, so there's a request docs. This library is very valuable to you from an ROE perspective. So if you're making any notes for ROE, this is a very important tip. This is a very important library. Please make sure you understand how this library works. We are not saying to you to memorize it, but be familiar with how it works. Practice with it, because during ROE, it's difficult to read through documentation, right? The documentation is only useful insofar as you've forgotten some small little thing and you want to just quickly find out what it was. Then you can look through the documentation or use GPT. But at least practice using the request library. Okay, we don't want you to be advanced users, but the best thing to do is go to this quick start, and you can see some basic things that they do with it, right? How to send a request, how to get various parts of the request, how to pass parameters into the request. So this is an example of how they're passing parameters. So just be familiar with this library, very useful. Um, URL encode is the only reason this is here is to do this bit over here. So when you want to send some query into the URL itself, instead of typing it out, question mark, API key, underscore, all this sort of stuff, that's why they've used it here. But you know what? Requests can do the same. You don't really need to use this. So if you go, where is it? So if I go encode, no, parameters maybe. Okay, it's passing parameters into URL. So when you pass parameters into a URL, right? When you do this, params equal to payload. Basically, you put a dictionary key value pair, and this is what comes out. Exactly what that URL encode thing does. So do you need a separate library and a separate function to learn? No need. You can just do it this way, okay? So this is unnecessary. Just learn this, okay? Because you can achieve the same thing. What else? Okay, then they talked about in the video how you get hold of the API and the API key. I hope you all have watched that video. Have you all watched that video? This particular one? Where is it? This one, the BBC weather video.
Yes.
Okay, so I think it was pretty clear over there how they managed to get the API, which is this URL, the key for the API, and so that was all explained in the video. So pretty self-explanatory. So I'll not waste time on that. The next thing was, okay, scraping. Okay, so this was using Beautiful Soup, and there is some. So if I quickly go, where is it here? Yeah. So this is the next, for from an ROE perspective, this is the next very important thing to learn. Okay, JSON is pretty straightforward. It's just so that you can deal with JSONs in a neat little way. So just few basic functions there. So don't just be familiar that you can use that. Pandas I'll show you in just a short while when we do the GAs. And then there is this beautiful soup. Again, from an ROE perspective, these two are very important. In fact, these three also, I would say. Okay, but very important from an ROE perspective. Again, there's fantastic documentation for this, and it's this over here. Okay, if I go to the top here, beautiful soup documentation. It seems like a long document, but actually it's very easy to follow. It's very, very easy to follow what's happening. They give you an example, and then they show you how to use the different parts of it. So how to create the soup, how to search for tags, how to get the CSS attributes. All those things they show you in a very neat little way. Excellent examples, easy to follow. You couldn't ask for any better documentation. This is some of the best documentation I've seen for a library. Very, very good. Okay, very easy to follow. So please take the time to understand this. We will do some demonstrations on this, and the reason we'll do the demonstrations on it is because it's very important. So we'll do that. But that shouldn't mean that you're waiting for the demonstration before you learn it. Okay. But if you go down here, you see these optional live recordings. Here Amit goes through extensively on how to use Beautiful Soup while scraping. And so I highly recommend you watch these quote unquote optional videos. Okay. They're not optional really. In my opinion, they are essential. So be sure to do that. Okay.
Sir, can I ask my doubts?
Sure. Go ahead.
Sir, in graded assignment.
Yeah, I'll be coming to that just shortly. I just want to quickly look over these things over here, and then I'll straight away get into graded assignment too. Okay.
Yes, yes, sir.
Okay. Vivek, right?
Yes, sir, Vivek.
Yeah, okay. Okay. No worries. Don't worry. We'll get to it.
Okay, sir. Fine.
So whether scraping, yeah. Okay. This video is super important. Just like I told you about requests library being important, Beautiful Soup being important. This is the third rung. Java scraping with JavaScript. Please watch this video. I cannot stress that enough. Okay, because it will show you how to use JavaScript to scrape. Many people will try and learn JavaScript. That's not what we're asking you to do. We're not asking you to learn a programming language or a scripting language. That's too much for this course. All we want you to do is recognize that this is very useful for dynamic websites. Because what happens is, let's say you have a dynamic website, produces all sorts of amazing things on the screen. But the problem is, when you fetch that through a request, you will not get all those bits because some of the things don't get triggered if you use a normal user agent to extract it, as opposed to a browser. When it hits a browser, the browser automatically triggers certain things to happen. And so the script works normally as it's supposed to. And so it produces all those fancy things on the website. But whatever finally you visually see, right, that actually comes into what's called the DOM, the document object model. And so when I hit inspect here, this is the DOM for this, everything that's displayed on here. Everything that ends up here eventually shows up in this DOM. So to get this from here, you will be able to extract whatever information you want, right? But this is where having JavaScript will help you, because if you cannot fetch this information inside your Beautiful Soup request, you still have one more shot at it, which is extracting it directly from the DOM, and then you would use a console to extract that information. And how would you do it? You would use JavaScript in the console. Okay, so that's why I cannot stress this enough. Watch this video and understand exactly, go step by step along with him, understand what he's doing, practice it, and you won't need to know much more than this. In order to learn this bit, what he's doing, one prerequisite is learn CSS. And I think in one of the first sessions or the second session, I mentioned a resource, right? MDN. Right? So MDN, and if you go here, right? If you learn till combinators, right? So if you see this bit over here, you start from here and learn till only combinators. That's all we really require you to learn as far as CSS is concerned. If you learn this, you will then be in good shape to uh, use JavaScript while scraping. Okay, and make a little cheat sheet. Okay, so what I have done is I have also made a cheat sheet for this because I myself don't remember all the JavaScript, right? So Where is it? JavaScript. Just give me a second here. Okay, maybe towards the end of the session, I'll show you the cheat sheet. Basically, what the cheat sheet does is, I open this video real quick. So let me. So the cheat sheet is effectively. Yeah. So the cheat sheet that I'm talking about is effectively this whole command that he has done, right? So I think comes to a point where he copies it. Where is it? Copy. So my cheat sheet comprises of this. If you understand how each of these things work, so first of all, copy means copy to clipboard. $$ means query selector all, and then he's given the class selector there. The CSS selector there, and then what he's done is he's whatever. So when you give this, it gives you a array. This outputs an array. Then each of those elements of that array is mapped it to a function. So if you understand these things, right, what's happening? Maps it to a function, takes each item, and then he produces these things that he wants to extract certain things from that item that's coming out of the array. So then he extracts them each one by one. So he uses separate query vectors, uses the structure of the data that's inside those nodes of the array to extract the information he wants. Then understand what this question mark does. All these things. So what I did is I copied this. If you understand just this much, exactly how this works, you will be in good shape. You don't have to learn any other JavaScript. You have to say 99, okay, let me be a bit conservative. 95% of the JavaScript we need you to understand is in this over here. So watch the video. I will probably take a session just looking at this briefly as well, just the basic structure of how it works. But learn this from the video because it's a very good video. Okay, so that's that one. Nominatum is very straightforward. A common mistake with Nominatum is to not use the correct user agent, which is you can't use my geocode. Okay, you have to use something that explains what your application is, and then it should work without any issues. And then when we are going through the GA, that time we'll have a look at it again. Okay, so I'll get back to that, but when we are doing the GA. Wikimedia, this is very straightforward. I won't talk much about this. It's very basic. The library has got very little in terms of functionality, right? So I won't really spend much time on this. It's basically you search with Wikimedia and it produces some output. That's it. Nothing significant going on there. The next thing, very important, how to scrape PDFs. I'll go through this in the GA. Now the example they've given here is a little more complex. Okay, there was an image, and then you had to use some boundaries to isolate it. So I'll be perfectly candid. In ROE, we won't ask you to do something that complex. Why? Because it takes too much time. So we might give PDFs in ROE, but they will tend to be of the sort that you've seen already, which is what's in the GA, for example. So it will be relatively straightforward to process. I say relatively because it depends on what's put in the PDF, but you won't have to deal with like identifying boundaries and things. This was just done so that you understand, in a more complex situation, maybe in your workplace or for a project you're doing, if you need to be able to use those capabilities, it's just to demonstrate that those capabilities also exist within Tabular. So that's what that's for. Okay. So as far as the videos goes, it's okay, but I'll go through the GA and show you how I deal with it. Okay. It's very straightforward. So hope that gives you. And then there's some extra things that have been mentioned here. It says emerging tools. Now, I'll be straightforward honest here. I've not had a chance to actually look at these myself. So I can't actually share with you anything about these. So if you've got the opportunity to look through them, please look through them. This is the first time Anand has put them here. It was not there last term. So, like I said, I myself have not looked at them, but you may find it useful. He generally never puts useless things on the course. So if he's put it there, then there's probably some good reason for doing that. Okay. So please have a look at them if you have a chance. Okay. That covers basically the topics. So now I'll quickly go through the GAs because that's where the bulk of the learning can come from. So hopefully this was very easy. This first question, right? What function is best? So if you look at this, let's have a look here. I don't remember what this was. Okay. Yeah. So question was, which of these functions is best for retrieving only the descriptions of all articles on separate rows? So yeah, so only these bits. You want to get these bits. So first thing to do is just inspect it so you can have a look at it. So you know what you're dealing with. And then the question is, how do we retrieve only the descriptions of all articles on separate rows? So if you tried it out, these functions, you will find that import XML is the most best option in this particular situation. So the keyword is best. You might be able to use others, but it's not as easy as it is with import XML. Then here, this is again what you do is you open Google Sheets, and I think there are some examples here most likely. No. No, these are not the ones. Okay. Let me open a new sheet here. Okay. And so that's why we go with the minimum value. Okay. Like we want to see first from which cluster center it is minimum to. If I copy this, it is minimum value. Say equal to and among those, we check the maximum. Put the URL. Because in that way, it would be further from both. Not sure if it's double quotes or single quotes. We'll find out. And then put the XPath query. So we try that. We can try this one first. Yeah. I think that also has to be inside quotes. Now comes the probability part. Okay, and then the third one is just optional. See what it loads. This would be your score now. Okay. Oh, some error. So this one would be the score. Let me just try using single quotes and see what happens. This one would become the score for this, and the way to calculate probability would be the same. Okay, if you like want with what probability this 3,1 point is see if that makes a difference. No. Okay, so that didn't work. So let's try. Let's try the fourth one. 5,2 as your second. So the probability that 3,1 is the first cluster. Sorry, 3,1 is the third cluster. Given mu1 is 0,0 and what happened? Oh, right. Sorry. Yeah. So this is the other thing. Yeah. That's right. I have to give access. Right. Very good. Very good. So as you can see, it pulls it up, right? So it's pretty straightforward. Just have to try it out and see what sticks. Okay. Next is API. So how many of you were able to? Okay, let me rephrase the question. How many of you were not able to do this API bit? Is it clear? How you are going to calculate the probability? Wow, so you guys all got it. That's great. So So please bear with me while I demonstrate it for those
Yes,
people.
sir. I have doubt in that question, sir. How solve this question?
Okay, 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 good.
Because a lot of lecture I did not go through because I had fever, sir.
Sorry, I didn't hear that last bit.
I had fever, sir.
Oh,
Fever.
right, right. Okay, okay. Right. So, Poke API, right? So let's. So basically, you have an API. So, do you understand what an API is?
Yes, sir. I know what is API.
Okay. So, yeah. So effectively, what we do is we make a call to the API using the URL, and it produces some JSON information for us back. And then we have to pass that JSON in order to get the answer we are looking for these things, right? So let me open the folder. Just give me a second here while I load this. September 20. And this is what question 3. Yes. Okay. Okay. So before you guys say, well, you've got a script ready, I wrote the script myself. Okay. So, right. And that took some time. Oops. Yeah, that's not needed. So, okay. So first of all, you will need, remember the library I was telling you about? The requests library. Here it comes. So I've installed the request library, and hopefully you guys know how to set up the environment, right, by now. You set up a virtual environment, and then you install the request library, pip install requests, and it installs it. Then we run the import requests. And then I've created a function. I'll explain this in just a bit. So there are two functions. Okay, first is something called find common moves, and then it gets the moves and all that sort of thing. And I'll explain how this works. So we need to give it some. So what find common move is, you give two characters to it, and you give it the version, because that's what it's what the question says, right? Grow little lit and slow bro and xy. Okay. So so what I'm going to do now is, let me run. Yeah, request is working. So the first thing is to so before we get to all this, okay,
I am
I'm
not
going to.
understanding, sir, how you do. How are
Yeah,
you?
yeah, yeah. So that's why I'm not going to explain this first. First, I'll explain what's happening. Okay. So the first thing is, if we think about, so I imported requests. So ignore this for now. Okay. Let me see if I can minimize it somehow. Can I minimize this? It was a way, but okay. Anyway, so don't worry about this. So
Yes, sir. I don't see that. Okay.
yeah. So what the request does, right? You put in the URL. So remember we had a URL for the API. So I'm just going to put that, okay? And the next thing is, we wanted a character that we were looking for, right? Grow lit, okay? Oops.
Sir, what is the question? How many moves? What is that mean, sir?
Yeah, so I'll explain that by running the request so you understand.
Okay.
Okay, so using Poke API, find out how many moves this creature has. Grow lit. So if I think there is like a wiki here or something, so you can understand what's happening. This one, no. There was a wiki somewhere. Let's try. Bulbapedia. That's it. So if you don't know anything about Pokemon, the first thing to do is, okay, so this is something about just generally doing data science, right? If you don't understand something, try and learn a little bit about the domain. So I know this sounds amazing, but I didn't understand anything about Pokemon. So when I when I had to do this, so I had to look up what is Pokemon, what do they do, what is this abilities and all this sort of thing. I had to look up. So some little bit of reading might be needed so that you understand what's going on. So effectively, what's happening is each Pokemon is a creature, and that creature will have a name. It will have like various attributes. It will have. So if I go back to this first bit here, and let's pretend let's put it over here. Okay, the creature that we were looking for, Growlithe. This creature. If I say submit, it brings it up. You can see it here. Okay, so you can see, okay, it's got abilities. So if I close that, it's got something called cries, it's got something called forms, held items, moves. Aha, moves. That's interesting. So if we look here, find out how many moves Growlithe has. Okay, so we can see it has some moves. In fact, it has 81 of them. And then there are some other things. But we are not interested in the other things, so we're only interested in the moves. Okay, great.
Yes.
Then it says and Slowbro. So that's another creature, and it also has some. So find out how many moves Growlithe and Slowbro have in common. In the something it says in the XY version. What is the XY version? So that's interesting. So clearly it has something to do with moves. So I look inside moves, and I can see there's the move. Okay. There's the name of the move. Okay. Version group details. Okay, so I open this. I'll have a look. Right. So then you can see in version group details, there are many versions, right? 9 versions. 0, what is it? 0, 1. Some numbers are there. But you can also see the version name. So if you look, there's egg, there's black, white. That's also egg, black, white, 2, something and all is there. So various version details are there. And then if you see here, what do you see?
X
Yeah,
dash
so
Y.
this, yeah. So that particular move, which is called double kick. So this first move. So this is a list, okay? You can see these brackets, right? So it's a list of 81 moves. So the first move in that list has the name double kick. And in various versions of Pokemon, there are different things about it. So you can see it's in the XY version group, that move. So now you kind of understood that, okay, this Pokemon has this move in this version group. What is it asking? How many moves does Growlithe and Slowbro have in common in the XY version? So Growlithe has some moves, Slowbro has some moves, but we want to find out the moves that they both have in common in this version only, right?
Yes.
So that's what we're trying to solve. So now that we understand the question, then let's have a look. So I run the request. Now, some very important things to remember when running APIs, common mistakes that students do. Don't uh, don't run these requests inside a whole block of code. Run them separately like this. Why is that? Because every time you debug, you don't want to keep getting the same information back, right? This Growlithe is not going to change, right? Each time you hit the API. Will it change? No, right? So
No, sir.
let me, yeah. So if you look at here, .json, okay? This information will not change what it got from the request. So the server that is giving you this information, they're doing you a favor. They're giving it to you for free, right? They're not charged you for this. But when you make a request to them, it has cost them something. It has cost them some processing power. It has cost them some network bandwidth. It has a real cost to them, right? So we have to be very careful when hitting free resources like this. Okay,
Yes, sir. They give us some limit API calls.
correct. So a common mistake we have seen students do is they will put this code inside a big block of code. Okay, like 100 lines, and every time they do a debug, okay, what is happening? It will keep hitting this request over and over again. Just for, say, for example, I made a mistake here, you think, okay, and then I say, oh, okay, I made a mistake here, I have to change this. I run it again. I made a mistake, run it again. But it has nothing to do with the request, right? Every time the request keeps getting hit. So what's going to happen? The server will see that you're hitting them many, many times. Eventually, they will ban you. Why? Because you're unnecessarily making multiple requests to them. So sparingly, make sure when you're writing code, sparingly use the requests, because it doesn't change the information. It stays static. It doesn't change. So please make sure of that. Okay. And you will encounter this problem. So now we'll be doing a project, right? So in project, you may get something like this where you have to hit an API, and it won't be something that we have hosted. It will be something that is there available online. So students will write some big fancy code or use GPT or something. There'll be a big bunch of code. Something will go wrong. Then they will find the error. Then they will run the code again. Sometimes the request might be in a loop also. That's a big no-no. Okay. If it's in a loop, there are some very careful things you have to do. I'll explain them at some point. But the key thing I want you to take away today from this particular is hit this as sparingly as possible, because it doesn't change. Okay. I won't say more about that. Right. So we understand what the request does. So we see the JSON body. Okay, that's great. Now the next thing is how do we deal with traversing it? Because that's ultimately what you want to do. So if you notice, the JSON is exactly like a dictionary pair. There's key, and there are lists, and there are values in them. So let's try that. So now notice I'm not going to hit the requests. I'm just going to use the response that I've already received back, right? So I'll call this response dictionary or something. Okay, so we can work with that. If I say, actually that's very wordy, right? So let's just call it D. Okay. So if we looked at D dot keys, okay, because it's like a dictionary, right? So you can see now. So there are all these keys I can use. So when we examined it earlier, we know that we want moves, right? So there you can see moves. So let's have a look at D dot, sorry, D, well, dot also works, but we'll do it this way so it's clear. So now when we look at moves, you can get, so these are the moves that are happening. And so this way you can, now one important thing to notice is, in this dictionary we gave the key moves, but look what came out, a list, right? You see this bracket here, this box bracket, that's a list. So the next item cannot be accessed with the key. Next item has to be an array index, okay, because it's a list. So let's do 0, for example. If I do 0, notice the list has gone now, but inside that is another dictionary pair, right? So we know it's a dictionary pair. So let's do keys again and see what comes. Where is it? Huh. So notice we started with moves, then we figured out it was a list. So now I'm looking at just the first item in the list, and then I realized it was another dictionary pair inside. So I'm looking at the keys inside that first list item, and notice there are two keys, move and version details. Oh, very good. So now we know there's move and version group details. So if we do move, let's see what happens. Right, so we get the name of the move, which is great. That's one thing we want, right? We want what all moves they have, right? So we know where to find it now. We can find it in this. Okay, great. The other thing we wanted to find out was version group details, I think it was called, right? So the reason I'm showing you this is to understand how to traverse it, so that you understand how to extract the information. Okay, so now you get, look at this. This is interesting. This is also a list, version
Yes.
group details. So now we know how to get the move, and that with that associated move, We've got version group details, but that's also a list. And what do we want from this list, right? So let's look at the first one. Okay, that's interesting. So that gives you a dictionary pair. Okay, so let's look at the keys of this now. Now this is one very good reason to use collab notebooks, right? If you were doing this in Python, first of all, you would have the problem where requests are constantly being hit if it was a normal Python program, because a Python program has to be one block of code, right? But whereas here, I'm just using the same cell to just do this job, investigating what's happening. Okay, so we see there are three keys here. There's learned at, the move is learned at that level, some move learn method. And there's a version group here. Okay, very good. Let's have a look at version group. And see, these things GPT won't teach you, right? This is an you're using your mind to investigate the problem. Exactly what we wanted. So now we know how to get the move name and the version group name. Okay, so now using these two bits of information, I know we lost the other bit, so I'll just write it up here. D moves 0, I think it was move, right? Let's hope so. Yeah. So now we know how to get the move and we know how to get the version group. Now from this we can get what we want, right? We understand how to access this from that whole JSON body. So that's exactly what's happening here. So I will go here, I get all the moves that are there. And how do I do that? So I want it as a dictionary pair, that's why I've done it this way. So I got Poke1 character, what its name, Poke2 character, what's its name, done the request, okay, and it's parameterized, so I can keep trying it for different things. And this is not GPT generated code, okay? It's so nice and clean because I created this code. So that's why it's very easy and simple to understand. So Pokemon 1. Now, again, let me be clear. I'm not saying not to use GPT. My point is, whatever you're using, make sure you understand what is happening, because then it will be easy for you to debug it and be able to get what you want. Okay, so both skills are required, in other words. So I want to get moves in Poke1. So I've made a separate function to get the moves. Okay. So I go in here, I pass it the JSON that I got, and I've created a set of moves, right? Because if you think about it, I want to get all the set of moves that character 1 has, all the set of moves that character 2 has, and what else I want to know? I want to know what version they are in, right? I only want the version where they are both have the same, I want only the moves where both have the same version, correct? So I'll get two sets of moves. Am I right? So that's what I'm doing. I'm making an empty set. Then remember I passed it the JSON body. And what I'm doing, if you look back at this, I'll just move this up here so you can see it clearly. So this is what I want, right? So what I'm doing, I know it's in a list. So I've given it the JSON and I've looked at the moves. You can see the moves here. See? Okay. And I know there are many moves inside there. So move in this list. And then I want only the moves that are common to, that are in this version that we are looking for, which is that x-y. So I'm also looking for version. And then I say it's in there. And then eventually if both, so if I get the move and it's in the version I'm looking for, I add it to my set. Has that been straightforward so far? Did you understand what is happening? I hope it was clear.
Yes, sir. Print the return move, sir.
Yeah. Sure.
Yes,
So, so that's what this does. Okay.
yes.
So if I, for example, we've got where is it? So we got the r.json. So if I pass this here, so if I say get moves, and we got, I think it was D, right? No, sorry, was it D? What was it? Yeah, so it was D. So if I put D there and I say I put the version X dash Y, I think it was called, right? Yeah. So let's run this. Oh, okay. Sorry, I didn't run the definition.
Yes, sir. First run the
Yeah.
function.
So notice it picked up all the moves that are in what XY, and it's easy to see why, right? Because I'm looking at every move, and I know every move has a version detail, and I've checked if that version detail matches this X dash Y word that we're looking for. If I change this to like egg or something, now remember I'm not hitting the API. I already have the data. I just need to. So egg doesn't. Egg is not there, is it? I thought there was egg. Anyway, let me. Where is the D? I assigned the D somewhere. Let me reassign the D and try. I thought there was egg. Maybe I'm wrong. Okay. Oh, sorry, black white is it? Okay, let's try black white. Black white. Black. Oops. So black white is there. You can see all these moves are in black white. So that's what this does. Okay. But the important thing I want to understand is how it's doing it, right? It's hopefully it's clear going into moves, and I've shown you how to construct it, right? So it's fairly straightforward. Okay. So that we know that moves works. The next thing is once we get the two sets of moves, that's what we wanted, right? So I'll get the moves for character 1, I'll get the moves for character 2. Then what I do is I want the common moves, right? But remember, these are sets. So then we can do a simple Python set operation. So I just do the intersection of those two and I get the answer. Let's run this definition. And let's put put it to the test. Let's see. So the first one was grow width, which is right. And what was the second one? Slow grow. Slow grow. And then it's X dash Y. X dash Y. So 23 moves are common. Let's see. Yeah. So 23 is the answer, right? Okay.
Yes, sir.
So that was. So hopefully you understood how to deal with first of all, how to hit the API, what not to do, and also how to work out what the data you're trying to get at in terms of the API. Remember, the JSON that you get is like a dictionary key value pair. Inside it may also be lists, but hopefully you have seen the thought process behind getting the values so that you can get what you're looking for. Okay. Right. I see we've lost a few people. Is it boring or something, or are you guys
No, sir.
It's very interesting.
okay? But you guys solved it, right? This question, or you?
No, sir.
But
I'm not
Saturn,
able
I
to
had
solve
one
that.
question.
Okay,
If
yeah, sure.
this kind of question comes in ROE,
Yeah.
so to explore through the data and to write a code, you need at least 20 minutes. So
I mean,
how are we going to
I mean, it
going?
looks like it needed 20 minutes, but that's because this is the first time you're kind of like encountering it, right?
But in ROE also, some data sets we will be encountering for the first time, right?
Sure, sure. But notice, remember how I broke it down for you?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Try
Even
and use,
I followed the same thing
yeah,
while
yeah,
coding
yeah.
because I don't even know I don't even know about Pokemon.
Yes, yes, yeah. I
So
mean, one thing I will say is ROE, because the TA will have significant input in terms of letting the instructor know what students think or may have issues with. One thing we try to do, I say we because I keep thinking there are two TAs, but there's only one. But normally, what we try to do is we try to make sure that that what students are being tested on is technical rather than something a domain they don't know about.
okay, okay.
Okay, so from a domain perspective, you will not have to worry about. But because GA was, you had virtually unlimited time, right? So that's why,
Yes.
uh, as an exercise, we don't mind that students have to do some of the data science type of work to
Right, right.
get the result. But from
Okay.
an ROE perspective, you will be given something that is straightforward to understand. In other words,
Okay.
it'll be like, say for example, if it's students, they will have marks, they will have professors, that
Yeah,
sort of thing.
okay.
Something that is
Easy to
common
understand
knowledge.
data.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, fine.
But in terms of complexity, there may be complexity, but I've shown you how to quickly overcome the complexity, right? I mean, if you look at this function, it's very simple and
It's
silly.
straightforward.
Yeah. So, but the challenge is students stumble over how to get the information. And that is the key battle in ROE, how to get the information. So this
Even
is,
I didn't use this request method for getting the JSON.
okay.
In that Pokemon site itself, there is one link, I guess.
Yes,
It
yes.
gives you a JSON. So I just downloaded that JSON and pulled
Sure.
it in the collab.
Yeah, but try and learn the request library, okay?
Yeah, yeah,
Because
yeah.
it will be useful to you.
Yeah,
And in this GA, it worked out okay, but in project, I can give you a heads up right now because project will be, I think, 2 weeks long or whatever, and it will be challenging, and you will be needing a requests over
yeah.
there because
Okay.
what will end up happening is you will be given some API that you're supposed to deal with,
Hmm.
and there will be lots of data to get out of it.
Okay.
So just learn how to use the request library.
Yeah, yeah,
It's not difficult, but these are required from
yeah.
an
Right.
ROE perspective, project perspective, and also generally in life it will be useful.
Yeah.
So that was that one. Okay, great. Now, unfortunately, I can't demonstrate this, I think, but yeah, I don't think so. Right, doesn't matter. The the main thing here is if you understood, the video I was telling you about JavaScript video that I explained earlier, that Anand sir was showing. If you understand that video, it's pretty straightforward. All you do is you stick this in the dollar selector. It will give you all the nodes that are required, and you will know the number of the nodes because you'll know the length of the array. The mistake that students generally make, and by the way, I made this mistake as well when I was validating the GA. So I hit inspect. I put the yes, oh, oops, sorry. So if I
That is
stick,
jQuery syntax, right, sir?
sorry.
Dollar is jQuery syntax, right?
It's used in JavaScript, so it might be jQuery. I don't know what the technical term is. The thing is, it works. So okay. So one thing is there's double quotes in there, so I have to use single quotes on the outside. What did I do wrong? Something I've done wrong.
You have to search in the search on the web page that is specified in the link, right?
Sorry. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. That's true. Yeah, that's true. I
That
forgot
won't be
about that.
possible.
Yes, yes, yes. But anyway, the point is, you just stick it in here, and it'll give you an array. Okay. But the mistake that I made when doing this is, I found that hey, I'm getting one bigger than the right answer, and the reason for that is, what you really should do is, I think it's Command P. No, it's not Command P. It's Command Shift P. So Control Shift P in the inspect window, okay, and then oof, sorry. So if you do this, and if you say JavaScript, see, so I just typed JavaScript, you get this disable JavaScript. So what that will do is it will disable JavaScript just for that page. If you do that, then you will get the right answer. because if you look here, he says ignore JavaScript generated elements. Now, some students have used some GPT generated scripting, uh, what do you call for it, functions or something, and it didn't work for them. They still got the wrong answer. Okay, but the simple thing was just disable JavaScript over here, and then you will get the right answer. Okay, I hope that was helpful to know.
For what the shortcut key, the control shift P is?
It's Control Shift P. So in this Dev Tools, if you should Control Shift P, you'll get this sort of menu, and you can just type
Okay.
anything in here.
So,
So
can
I
it
just
be accessed via the GUI?
yeah, this is the GUI, right?
No, 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 no. I mean to say, instead of pressing Control Shift P, can
How
window
to
be
get
accessed by?
the
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I think it's under more tools, maybe. I'm not
I
sure.
just wanted to
So
know the name
yeah,
of that function.
yeah. So I'm not sure. The only reason I know the shortcut is because in the in the DevTools video, that girl who's demonstrating how to do things, she mentions this, how to
Oh,
get the command. It's called the command palette.
command palette. Okay, okay.
Yeah. So I don't know how to get the command palette using the menu, but what I do is, okay, that's how you do it. So if you go here, these three dots, and then you go run command. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So yeah, if you do that, you'll get this, and then you can type anything in here, and it'll show, like it'll be able to find anything that the console tools has. So
Actually, I tried disabling that JavaScript and I was not able to unmute my mic.
oh, right. Okay. So probably the mic works via JavaScript then.
Looks like.
Okay, right. So that's how it works. Okay. So right. So something I learned today as well. You can go to those three dots in the dev tools and do it that way. Great. Lovely. Okay. What's happened to my page? Why does it look all weird? Right. So that was that. This was easy, right, guys? Common mistake. I'll tell you the common mistake. People don't look at this, the OSM ID. Okay. When they run the nominatim, sometimes you may get. So one example was there was a city called Chongqing or something like that. Okay, from China. And if you just put Chongqing, China, you will get the district or something, and it will have a different OSM ID at the end. But if you put Chongqing and the word city, then it will give you the correct OSM ID that matches with. So the reason for the exercise is to understand that nominatim gives you lots of things. So if you put IIT Madras, it won't, that object type is not city, right? It is a university or some technical institute or something like that, right? Same way, nominatim has various items that come out of it. So it will be a park, or it will be some administrative building, or some government building, or some railway station, or something like that. Any number of things might be there. So the goal was to get you to realize that just putting the name and the country is not going to be enough in some cases. You might need to actually specify that you're looking for the city, and that's why it was specifically mentioned: city, Harare, Zimbabwe, and then make sure that the OSM ID is the correct one. And again, this is also using an API. You get a JSON response back, and in that JSON response, one of the key value pairs is the OSM ID. Okay. And actually, what we'll do is we'll quickly look at that notebook now. Now that we are
Sir, if I see all the lectures in that module, then I able to solve GS.
oh yeah, definitely. 100%.
Okay, sir.
So if I do TDS, so remember change the user agent TDS. Actually, I need to make a copy of this. So before you run anything, first make a copy. Okay. So it creates a copy. Lovely. Okay. Now once it made the copy, then you can do TDS week to. So you can put anything here, okay, but make sure you change it to something sensible. And then let's put Harare and put Zimbabwe. I hope that's correct. Zimbabwe. Yeah. Okay. Right. So we'll run this. That's because it was not connected. So
Yes,
now,
sir. It is.
by the way, one more thing I was going to mention. You can do this in your VS Code. You don't have to do it via Google Colab. Okay. If you copy this code into VS Code, it'll work pretty fast. No problems. So everything you can do in Colab, you can do in VS Code, basically, unless it's some Google specific thing. And in that case, there may be a library you download.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
We have to install all the libraries.
Yeah. So now let's look at the output of that Zimbabwe Harare that we just saw. So here's that OSM ID key. So 5934, 5934. Now in this case, it was pretty straightforward, but this is a common mistake that students faced, okay, where they didn't realize, oh, we have to match that as well. And then the next question that was asked is maximum latitude of the bounding box. So a bounding box is basically, so everything that has an area, like a city, it's not a point, right? So it will have a left, a top, a right, and a bottom. Okay, and so the vertical lines on the globe are called longitude. Okay, and the horizontal lines on the globe or a map are called latitude. So the leftmost, what's it asking? Maximum latitude. Okay, so a latitude are horizontal lines, right? So the maximum latitude, meaning the topmost, right, is what it's asking for. So if you look here carefully, so we have if we have a fixed point, latitude and longitude, that's in the center of the city. Okay, but because the city is not a point and it's got a top and bottom, so we notice that latitude is minus 17. So we got minus 17.99 and minus 17.67. And if we look here, minus 17.67 is higher, right? If you think about it, it's above uh, the minus 17.99. So the correct answer is that. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So that's how that works. And another thing to notice is address type. See, it says city, or type, it says city. So that might vary. So sometimes people have put in, like I said, Chongqing, China, I think it was. I don't remember the exact spelling, so we might not get this right, but we'll see. So notice we are hitting the API, but it's in a separate cell. That's the reason to do it. Okay, this is good. So notice now there is no city. Can you see there is no city? And if you had looked, I don't have the question with me, but some student had asked it. They were asked for the city. And if you look at the OSM ID, so this is 3069. So just remember that 3069. Let's try this now. 3069. Let's see what this brings out now. So notice the OSM ID changed.
Yes,
and
sir.
now it's a city.
Type is a city. Yes.
Yeah.
Type is a
So
city.
yeah. So now you understood, right? It's that's so we wanted you to understand this that nominatum gives you more information than just a latitude, longitude. Gives you lots of other useful things. Okay. That was the purpose of that exercise. Okay. Let me close all these things. Okay. Then next. Okay. So that's the same sort of thing. This is again the very reason we're asking this is to emphasize the fact that this will be valuable to you, learning the requests library. Okay. So this, if you looked up the documentation, you would get the answer. Okay. Next is CSS selectors. 2 questions on that and PDF. So what I'll do is, I'll first. So now, I know that some of you would have had questions on like maybe this one. I think because 2 of them will give you the same answer. I think it's this one and this one. But the correct answer was the bottom one, I think. Yeah, no, the second one. So the correct answer was this. And someone will say, well, both were right. So which one should I select? So in order to understand this, since it's already 10, for next class, I will start the session with explaining to you in detail how CSS selectors work. So I'll do a very excellent example for you. So you will be left in no doubt about how it works. I'll explain how the combinators work, how the hierarchy works, all those things I'll explain to you. And then I will ask you to solve this question and see if you can come up with the right answer and explain to me why that's the right answer. Okay. So that's for next time. Okay. Because there's not enough time to actually do that exercise with you. We are kind of out of time now. Okay. So please bear with me. Next class, I already have the materials ready, but there's just not enough time to do it now. Okay. Is that okay with you guys?
Sure.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
thank you. Right, I'll quickly go this one as well, PDF file. So you guys had any difficulty with this?
Not really.
Okay. Anyone in
Just have to
particular?
pull it in the data frame and just get it.
Yeah, that's exactly what you should do. It's the simplest thing to do. Extract the PDF, put it in a data frame, and then solve it. So what I'll show is the common mistakes that most students do when it comes to this. Again, yeah, okay. So, okay, I'll use this one perhaps. Yeah, okay, I'll use this one. No, sorry, that's not the one. Uh, okay, for today I will use this one because this is a very short and condensed one. But again, next class, what I'll do is I'll show you a slightly elaborate version of it so that you understand what's happening. Okay. So this is the library I was talking about, Tabula. You import Tabula, install it on your VS Code, and then you open the file. And when you open the file, you can do this, read PDF. Another option is convert into. So if you do read PDF, it will produce a date, what do you call for it, a data frame from it. If you use convert into, you can convert it to any other format you want that you find easy to process, and then you can process it however you want. Okay. So I'll do this one, the data frame one, because that's just simple. Right. So I'm saying read all the pages. And you can choose pages if you wanted. Okay, you can say, so remember the question said groups, whatever, 9 to 80, you can do that, okay, in here. But just make sure that when you're putting the boundaries, that you put the correct boundaries for it. So I don't remember if 1 is 1 or 0 is 1, but I think 1 is 1 in here, okay. I don't think it's 0. So just be aware of that. We'll test it out next time, okay. So I said all pages. The reason I put this, what you call for it, parameter, multiple tables, is because I wanted to know that actually there are multiple tables in there. If you don't put this parameter, what will happen is, as it's creating the PDF, it will also pick up the headings from each um, page, and then you will get the wrong answer. So this is the first mistake most students do. They don't realize that in the pages that are picked up, one of the rows, or actually 100 rows, will have the headings of the columns. So if you look here, these headings, if you don't put that parameter, it will come each time. So next, in the data frame, it will say 79, 47, 93. That will be one entry. Next entry, maths, physics, English, economics, biology. Then next entry, 67, 68. So this will be a row, a legitimate row. If you do that, common mistake. So when they do the sum, and they're saying, well, my rows are correct. It started from 100 and whatever 20, and it went to 1,200, and the answer is coming out wrong. Yeah, it will come out wrong because you're missing some rows actually, right? If you think about it, because you've got those titles in there that are add instead of actual rows. So that's a common mistake. So the next thing is, if we look, okay, actually, yeah. So this is just a random page in this group, okay? Page 49. This is the details. This is just to verify. It's called a sanity check to make sure that what has come out. So this is something students, again, another mistake they do. They trust the script, but forget to do a sanity check, which is just make sure, just take a sample, just see visually, is it what you expect. So this was 49. So this is an array, by the way, okay? What is it for? Yeah, this is an array, sorry. This is an array that's come out. So let's check out and see what 49 is here. If I go 49. So page 49, so 4495. So let's see. So 49 is not that, right? So let's see. So it's probably 48. No, sorry, 50. Right? Is it 50? Yes. So now you know 49 refers to group 50. Sanity check. Something we fail to do. In ROE, this will save your life, okay? Doing sanity checks. Okay. Now that we've got that out of the way, so what's happening here? So we know that this is an array, and so info has got all the pages. I'm telling, this is the array, this is the what do you call for it, the parameter, and then I'm saying I want to create a query on it. What is the query? I want to find all economics column, whatever in economics, all the rows I want that are greater than equal to 60. And then once it extracts that, all the rows, so you'll get some several rows. You can try it out here. You can see what happens. Let's say info. So I'll just give a page for now and say dot query and say economics greater than 60. Okay. So you'll see, it'll pull out all the rows that have economics greater than 60. Right? Next, I want to do, so now that I have all these rows, I want the maths column sum. Okay. So that is so far for a single page. But I want it for, this is called, so in Python, they call this list comprehension, right? Where they use a for loop in a single line. So for page in range 21 to 76, do this. Okay. So it creates the sum of the maths for that page. But we also want it for all the pages, right? So this will produce a sum for each individual page. Then in brackets, there's another sum outside it because we want sum of all those pages. So first of all, we want all the sum of all maths of each page, and then I want a sum of all the pages. So that's what will give you the answer then. So if we, what is this? English, physics. So what's the, so we want Marks. Yeah, so we want physics more than 63, right? So let's try that. Physics more than 63. English. Oops, English. And the range is 9 to 80, so it's 8 to 80. If I do 8, so we know how range works, right? The top limit is ignored, so 8 to 80. 48393. 48393. 48393. So that's correct, right? So that's all it is. Very straightforward. I know this might have been tough to look at, but hopefully you understood what happened here. Next class, I'll show you a lengthy way of doing it if you find this sort of thing difficult to understand, because there's no use of me showing you some complex construction. So disclaimer, I didn't write this query. This query actually came from Anand sir. Okay. The reason why he gave me this, so normally what happens, he doesn't give me the answers. I have to solve it myself. So I had a solution, and we had a difference. Okay, there was some problem that, because I was getting what I believed was absolutely the right answer, and he was also saying no, my answer is correct. So we had a little dispute about it. So he sent me his script, I sent him my script, and guess what? We were both still getting the right answers, but both our answers were wrong. And the reason was he was having a different PDF and I was having a different PDF. So that's that's why I have this script. Okay, but I thought I'll explain this script to you as well, and I'll show you my script next time. So mine is a little more easier to understand, because what I do is I break it down step by step, so you know what's happening at each stage. In fact, mine follows the. If I show you here, mine follows this method. Step by step, I break it down. I first get group 9 to 80, then I filter for 63 in physics, then I find the total. So I just follow these. Whereas he has done it all in one neat line like that. Okay, so that's the only difference. Was that helpful? Did you guys follow what I was?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Right, so that covers GA1, GA2. I know we have run a little over time, but hopefully this session was useful to you guys. I hope you've learned something useful. And more importantly, I hope you've picked up what's important for ROE. And I really hope I've imparted something of value to you. Okay. Any comments, any suggestions, things you liked, you didn't like, that sort of thing? Or...
I'm looking forward for next PA session. I had a
Okay.
lot of difficulties in GA3.
Okay,
I
okay, okay.
could solve all of those, but I had to put a lot of time in it.
Okay, yeah, yeah. GA3 will be interesting because I will thoroughly explore pandas in that, and
Okay.
I'll show how we can solve some of these complex issues. But yeah, okay.
Thanks.
Any other questions or doubts?
No, sir.
Okay. So I didn't hear from any of you other guys. I heard from Monica, I heard from Kaustav, Vivek, Jyoti. I've not heard from Praveen, Reena, Vijit, Vishnu. You guys okay? I mean,
Yes, I had a quick question. Can I ask?
yeah, yeah, sure, sure. Please go ahead.
So the question number nine,
Yeah.
uh, yeah, question number nine.
Yes.
Yes. So when I tried, I was getting the correct answer for fourth also. So when I
Correct,
tried the
correct.
fourth, I got the answer. But then
Yes.
the grade assignment, they're telling the third is the right answer.
Yes. So
So
you get the right answer with the third one as well, right?
yeah, but then when I tried the fourth, for
Yeah.
fourth also I got the right answer.
Correct. Yeah. So I'll explain that in the next class, because first what I'll do is I'll teach you the ins and outs of what CSS selectors, combinators, and all do.
Okay.
Once I teach that, you will understand. You yourself will come to the right answer. Then is my hope. It worked last term, so I hope it will work this term as well. But to give you a heads up, what exactly the issue is when using CS. So the reason for this exercise, why there are two, in fact, one of the options we were thinking of doing is giving all four, giving you the right answer. But we thought that will be too cruel on students, so that's why we left you with only two that give you the right answer. So the reason is, when you're doing CSS selection and you're working on large sets of data, this is a very small toy example, right? But if it was a large set of data, okay, you don't have the ability to verify what's happening, okay? Or if you had to verify it, it would be difficult to verify it's right or wrong. The goal here is to make you understand that you have to. So this question can be solved without even having this HTML page, and that's what we wanted to convey. That this is actually a very technical question. Without even having this page, you should be able to get the right answer. And the reason for that is the words that are specifically used in this question. And that's what I'll teach you next class. Next class, I'll take some very nice, neat examples for you. And you will then be able to, I will go through the example step by step. I'll explain how each part of the question breaks down. And then you will see in there why you can solve this question without even having access to the web page, because this question is very technical question. You don't need the web page to solve it. Okay, I know
Got it.
that's not immediately helpful to you, but think about that. Okay, it's
Yes. Yes.
actually a technical question,
Okay. Got
and
it. Got it.
just by looking at this question, you will realize that okay, the correct answer is this. It cannot be anything else.
Okay. Okay. Got it. Got it.
Okay,
Yeah. This is helpful. Yeah. Thanks.
yeah, yeah. Okay. Any other questions? That was a good question, by the way. So, but
Thank
we're
you.
trying to, yeah, we're just trying to engage your thought process on it so that you're aware of these issues. Okay, if there are no more questions, I'll stop the recording first because, of course, sometimes students want to ask something off the record, so I'll stop the recording for now. Okay, recording, stop recording.